Hello, I'm Tilman RUFF, Co-President of International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War and founding chair and co-founder of ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words at this important conference. I'm pleased to join you to commemorate an unprecedentedly complex nuclear disaster and to look forward, resolved to build the sustainable and safe future we need, renewable, not radioactive. I speak to you from Melbourne, known by its indigenous name, Naarm. I acknowledge that I speak to you from the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, pay my respects to their elders, and express my thanks for their continuing custodianship of these lands and waters. Sadly, like Japan, Australia has a special place in things nuclear and radioactive. Like radioactive contamination, the tentacles of the global nuclear industry extend widely and know no borders. Australia is the only member of a nuclear-free zone treaty which claims protection from another state's nuclear weapons and assists in their possible use through hosting facilities involved in command, control and targeting of nuclear weapons. Australia holds an estimated 40% of the world's uranium-rich deposits. Australia is the only country to have agreed to uranium mined on its land being enriched and turned into nuclear weapons by its former colonial master, and then having those weapons tested on its own soil, radioactively contaminating its land and people. Australia has exported uranium to nuclear-armed China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, United States, and has an agreement to do so with India. India used nuclear materials and facilities supplied for supposedly peaceful purposes to initiate the dangerous nuclear arms race we see in South Asia. India is not a member of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and has one of the world's two most rapidly growing nuclear arsenals. It was confirmed in our national parliament that Australian uranium was in each of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactors that exploded. Rocks mined in Australia were turned into radioactive fallout and the continuing radioactive leaks into groundwater and the Pacific Ocean. This causes anguish for the traditional custodians of the lands where those rocks were mined. We are connected. In Australia, uranium is mined against the deep and abiding will of First Nations peoples who have been custodians of their lands for 70,000 years or more in the oldest continuing human culture on Earth. Australia, which should be a global powerhouse in renewables, is instead still contributing to the danger of radioactive incineration in a nuclear war and insidious radiation harm to everyone's most precious legacy and inheritance, the DNA that makes us who we are. There is a lot that Australia and Japan share, both nuclear-dependent states complicit in the continued existential threat to all of us posed by nuclear weapons. You suffer still from the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We suffer from the continuing contamination from British nuclear tests here. Yet both our governments are willing to justify and assist in threatening massive indiscriminate radioactive violence against billions of innocent civilians by claiming to need those very same, worst of all, weapons of mass destruction. Your densely populated islands in one of the most earthquake and tsunami-prone regions of our planet are dotted with nuclear reactors, imposed through a deeply corrupt and corrupting nuclear village, vested interests and governments powerless to control what are effectively enormous radioactive dirty bombs that they created. We supply the uranium feedstock for for nuclear reactors and bombs to almost all comers. Your companies want to export nuclear reactors. Ours want to sell them uranium. You accumulate huge amounts of weapons-suitable plutonium for no credible purpose. We turn a blind eye. Nuclear power has survived this long for only two reasons: vested interests and their corrupting influence, and a desire to keep open the option for building nuclear weapons. Those of us working to forge a different, positive path for our nation, thank you for organising this important conference and inviting us to join. We should not allow the grim ongoing radioactive problems in Fukushima to be swept under the carpet for the upcoming Olympic Games. Let's use the Olympics in Japan to push for action on the unmet environmental, health and social justice needs from 3.11. We should work together to create the safe, healthy, sustainable, renewable future we urgently need. We can. Thank you.